Welcome to Mishna study, Masachat Sheviit, Perek Bet, Mishna Zayin. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to speak about four different types of rice, millet, poppy, and sesame. So different types of seeds that grow. And we're going to focus on when these are obligated, when are they obligated in Ma'asrot, right? At what point are they considered, Sheviit fruits or non-Sheviit fruits? So this Mishnah is going to actually separate them and speak as them, of them differently. We're going to actually discuss, and we'll see halacha is that they're actually going to be similar to others. We'll go through. So if you have rice, millet, poppy, and sesame, right? They took root in the ground before Rosh Hashanah, right? Then we're going to consider them like 60-year fruits, 60-year seeds. Mit'aserin she'avar, right? They're mit'aser, right? We separate ma'asrot as the previous year, as a 60-year fruit. Umutarim b'sheviit, and you're allowed to eat them on the Sheviit year, right? Because they're 60-year, for all intents and purposes. Now, when we say mit'aserin she'avar, right, that they're separated ma'aser as the previous year, right? So Rambam explains this is not necessarily, we're not necessarily talking about a Shemitah year. It could be for any year, right? It depends on when they grow, right? According to this Mishnah, if they took root in the previous year, they're going to be the previous year's Ma'asrot. Remember, the Ma'asrot differ between years 1, 2 versus year number 3, right? Whereas 1 and 2, we separate Ma'aser Sheni, and year 3, we separate Ma'aser Ani, right? So it's different. And in the 6th year, we also separate Ma'aser Ani, right? So there's this rotation. So it depends on what year the fruits are to even know what we're separating. So this is the law when it comes to, or this way the Mishnah presents the halacha, the law when it comes to these 4 items. Harambam though says, psak halacha is, we go according to when it's finished ripening, right? When do these 4 items finish ripening? That's when we consider it a 6th-year fruit or 7th-year fruit, right? So if they finish ripening in the 6th year, okay, then it's a 6th year. If they finish ripening already into the Shemitah year, then it's going to be a Shemitah year item. And then he goes actually to list all the others, and this is important halacha also. When it comes to grain, tivuah, it goes, they need to grow a third of their growth. Then if it grew a third, then we're going to consider it already that year's fruit. It grew a third of its growth in the 6th year, it's considered a 60-year fruit, a 60-year grain. If it didn't grow a third yet of its growth, and it continued into the 7th year, and only then it hurt a third of its growth, the tivuah, the grain, is going to be considered a 7th-year grain, right? And it's going to be asur for certain things. Now, when it comes to vegetables, right, this is important to remember. Vegetables, it goes according to when you pick the vegetable, right? So as soon as Shemitah year rolls in, once you pick a vegetable, you pick a cucumber from the field, that's a Shemitah year cucumber. It goes from when you pick the vegetable itself, right? That's why as soon as Shemitah year rolls in, all the vegetables in the supermarket, if you even go there today, is considered Shemitah vegetables. Now, but when it comes to fruit, though, fruit goes according to its ripening stage, right? So as opposed to vegetables, that it goes to when it actually was picked. Fruit goes to when it's ripened, and that's the halacha for these 4 items in the Mishnah, also the rice, millet, poppy, and sesame. Now, just finish off the Mishnah, v'im lav, right? Let's say they didn't take root before Rosh Hashanah. Asurim b'sheviit u'mit'asirin l'shana haba. Right, so first of all, they get their ma'aser is taken the next year, right? That's what Rambam explains, right? That it's not necessarily talking about a Shemitah year, right? Because if it's talking about a Shemitah year, there's no ma'aser in the 7th year, right? The Shemitah year is hefker. That's why Rambam had to go ahead and explain that this Mishnah is talking about all other years as well. But it's asurim b'sheviit. It's also asur in the Sheviit. It's asur in the Shemitah year. Now, what does this mean? It's asur. So in his first edition, Rambam said that it was asur to gather, right? So the mashma that it's mutar to eat, but it's asur to gather. But over here in the final version that he wrote, he says asur le'ochlam. It's asur to eat them on the 7th year. Now, why would it be asur to eat these on the 7th year? So what? So they took root in the 7th year itself. So let me treat it like a Shemitah year fruit, and I can eat it on the 7th year. So these are the gezerah of Sefichei Sheviit. These are considered shrubs, right, or growth on the Sheviit that grew on its own. Now, technically, it should be allowed by Chachamim HaGezerah because they saw people were planting certain things and they were saying that it grew on its own. So they will osir many different items on the Sheviit that you're not even allowed to have them on the Sheviit. You're not allowed to eat them on the Sheviit. And these fall into that category. And therefore, if these grew, if they took root, or the halacha is, right, according to halacha, if they ripened on the Shemitah year, on the Sheviit year, it would be asur to eat because of the gezerah of Sefichim.